All right, everybody, welcome to Brighter. So, as Ford and the other big auto are deep in the fight right now with the unions, there's actually increasing reports across the nation whether or not Ford is canceling their Lightning EV orders. Now, this is still unclear if this is rumors and how widespread this might be, but there was actually real communication from a Ford salesperson in Canada saying as such. Now, we also have new information from Australia saying that Ford is saying that that is not true. So we'll dive deeper to figure out what's actually happening here. Let's see what the outlook might be for Ford, especially with Tesla's Cybertruck that's imminently about to be launched. So today we have Hans Nelson joining us. He's a mechanical engineer that has his own YouTube channel at Hans E. Nelson. And he and I have been doing shows together. And so I wanted to find out his thoughts on Ford. We just did a show on Rivian and see what he's thinking about this as well. Welcome, Hans. Hans, how are you doing?
Thanks. I'm excited to be here, Herbert. I always love talking about this stuff.
I know we do, don't we? Okay, so this is kind of like rumors, but came from car dealership guy who's very well plugged in. He's kind of hears a lot of what's happening. He's always ahead of folks, and so I do give it a little bit more of potential truth that maybe there's something happening here. There's basically he said that reports of Ford canceling Lightning EV orders are happening across the country. This is the dealer stock. He's unclear just how widespread this is at this moment. He's going to disclaim this post as unconfirmed until he gets more details. But then this came out as well, September 19th, where this guy is actually a salesperson for Ford, and he's replying to a customer, telling that customer that he has confirmed with Ford management that it appears Ford has actually canceled all the incoming F-150 Lightnings that were getting built, and this unit was incoming as well. So he says, essentially, we would not be able to obtain this truck no longer, unfortunately. Again, we just got confirmation from Ford that all of our incoming Lightnings are no longer being built. Okay, so it makes sense that this might be happening because we're deep in a union scenario situation right here. What's your initial gut reaction and how real this is?
Yeah, that was one of the, based on that date that was sent being the 19th of September, I think there was still a lot of question about how the labor negotiations were going to go. And, it may have just been a supply chain thing, and they may have decided also that it was a good time to just reevaluate where they were at with Lightning deliveries. And so we will just have to continue to watch, do these models continue to be delivered to dealers? Can they continue to sell them or not? I think that the fact that we've only seen a couple of emails that look like this, yes, they are dispersed. Yes, there was something that was going on. But honestly, I haven't seen enough evidence that is widespread enough to think that this is going to be a large scale thing moving forward.
Yeah. Well, here's one really good potential logical reason why it might be happening. This is from Farzad Mesbahi. He used to work at Tesla, has his own YouTube channel. He's a real Tesla expert, and just amazing when you listen to what his thoughts. This is his thinking. Likely reason why Ford is shutting down Lightning production. Well, if the profitable side of the business, the gas cars, is being impacted by the strikes, they can't justify keeping a money-losing business running while they lose money on their money-making business, right? And we know that Ford is losing significant amount of money, just tremendous on the EVs. There was this one report, Hans, that I'd seen where they said that Ford is losing probably $20 billion per year, something like that. I have to reminded at the same, and then they said, well, we're a startup. But when you look at Tesla at the same stage where they were at, they were only losing $2 billion a year. So it's okay to lose money, but it's like the magnitude and be able to get out of it. So if they're losing that much money and you have a shutdown and you can't produce these profitable, if you don't stop your money losing division pretty soon, it's going to flip on you. It makes sense. What was your thinking when you saw Farzad's thoughts there?
Yeah, no, I really think that there's a lot to that, and I can't imagine all of the different evaluations that everyone up at corporate and Ford was having to do. They're reevaluating every project, every model line, like everything kind of is up for questioning in a situation like this. And they had all types of plans going into the union negotiations on potential things that would have to change, and those were going to be contingent upon how the negotiations went. And so I think Farzad's point is incredibly salient. And um, losing, I don't think they have that much cash in the bank, and they have huge liabilities. And so when you think about, how much can you sustain losses, the burn rate is a huge fact. Like, yes, you can lose money, but how much of the money that you have are you losing? How much runway do you have left? And that's a big portion in all of this. And it could be that they do have to pause some things in the short term. We do know that we've seen pauses on the battery factory that they were in partnership with CATL to
Yeah.
build. And so that in and of itself is really not a good sign, and it lends a lot of credence to what Farzad said.
On the news on the other side of it, this Jason Cartwright is a friend of ours. He's a journalist in Australia, and he writes for Tech AU, which is tech coverage. And he said, I took a look at this, thought it was weird. So he actually contacted his Ford kind of spokespeople, and they said, no, Ford is not canceling the F-150 Lightning. Their quote exactly is, that Ford has canceled some dealer stock orders for the model year 23. As part of their preparations to change over to the model year 24, these dealers have the opportunity to reorder the 24 stock. No customer orders have been canceled by Ford. That also makes a lot of sense. So, which one do you believe? Now, this is Australia, and this is at least coming officially from Ford, but of course, they're going to deny things until they get official confirmation.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point. Like, we don't really know like, I can all of these things are going to be things that are inevitably going to be said regardless of whether
Yeah.
F-150 is can or the Lightning is or is not canceled. And so really only time will tell, but it does make a lot of sense, like you said. And I know that before all of the UAW negotiations, they were planning to, expand their production capacity on the Lightning. And so it would be also very logical that there would be some changeover, as you're building a new factory and it's a new model year and you operate with inside the traditional model year structure that legacy automotive manufacturers use, that you would want to say, okay, we're just not making this particular model year of the F-150 Lightning anymore, and we're going to change. It is weird, though, to say that those orders were canceled. I don't understand why they wouldn't just be updated to the current model year. Maybe it has to do with pricing. I'm not really familiar enough. I think that would be a good question to ask somebody like car dealership guy. Is that
Yeah.
a normal thing in a
Right.
situation like this, or
Cancel.
does this sound
Yeah.
like BS?
That's right. That's right. That's a good point. Okay, so quick comments on Cybertruck. So Cybertruck is possibly going to have a delivery event here in Q4, and then if Ford is still in their union fight, what's going to happen to Ford F-150 Lightning? Let's say that it's not being canceled, but still, what do you think the impact could be? It's almost like a another hit nail in the head when you're already fighting somebody else at the other side.
I think, yeah, that really, again, kind of comes back to pricing. If the Cybertruck undercuts the pricing of the F-150, or if it offers superior performance and specs at equivalent pricing, that puts a lot more pressure on Ford. But, like we mentioned previously, the Cybertruck has a long back order. There's a lot of people that want that truck. If they're not able to ramp up to hundreds of thousands, potentially in the neighborhood of 500,000 Cybertrucks a year in the very short term, I mean, we've already got, what is it, like 2 million plus reservations. Um, and so it's just going to take some time to exhaust that backlog. And then, Ford is a big commercial player. They're selling into a lot of fleets. I highly doubt that we're going to see any significant changeover of fleet orders from a company like Ford to a company like Tesla this quickly, this early on in the ramp of the Cybertruck. So that's an area where they have the ability to lean in if they can convert those fleets from their ICE orders into Lightning orders. And that really just boils down to long-term cost of ownership economics. And so if Ford has solved that challenge, they'll be fine. If they have not solved that challenge, they're going to be in hot water.
If you can, please consider supporting this channel. You can get for free 3 milestone tables that list every major milestone Tesla's ever had since 2003. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com. Thank you for that. Just yesterday, we did a show on Rivian and we had talked about the same topic about Cybertruck. You made the great point that it's not going to immediately impact them next year because Cybertruck will be slow scaling. But both Rivian and Ford, they need to flip at some point, and they really have just next year to become profitable, their divisions. And if they don't, the following year, 2025, it's going to be much harder. But then you've also made the point that these are all 3 different segments anyways. And so they'll be impacted, but it won't be necessarily a death knell as some people might think. Okay. Thank you so much, Hans. Please follow him on his YouTube channel, Hans C. Nelson, and his X account. Same thing, Hans C. Nelson. Appreciate you joining me. Thank you so much, Hans.